Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Let's get to some Gregg Popovich stuff. So Monday, I'll just lay this out before we get out to any discussion about it or anything like that. So on Monday, we heard from Spurs coach Gregg Popovich for the first time since he suffered the mild stroke back in early November. I believe it was November 2nd, just before the Minnesota Timberwolves game over at the Frostbank Center. Luckily, he was surrounded by a lot of medical personnel there. To this point, we've only heard from the organization and from the players and from Mitch Johnson about Pop, because Pop has not been available to be asked about Pop. This is the statement. Luis just threw it up for us. It says, in part, "This has certainly been an unexpected 6 weeks for my family and me as we work together on my recovery. I want to take a moment to share that the outpouring of support we've received during this time has been truly overwhelming in the best possible way." He went on to say, "No one is more excited to see me return to the bench than the talented individuals who have been leading my rehabilitation process. They've quickly learned that I'm less than coachable." A little bit of Coach Pop humor there, as he likes to fit in. So then on Tuesday, obviously, some of the players during their media availability were asked about Coach Pop in the statement. So this is what Stephon Castle, Jeremy Shohan had to say.
Yeah, no, it's again, it gives hope. Again, knowing Pop, he's working hard. He's definitely watching the games. Probably trying to stay calm, but not always. But again, it's good to see that. It makes you smile, it makes you warm. I hope everything's going well, and he's working his ass off to get back on that bench.
We've already encouraged Pop throughout this whole process. So that wasn't like a new statement to us. It was new to the public, obviously, but he's been giving us word. Just giving him encouragement, on his return. So, I don't know what the team's reaction to it was, but I'm happy that he's able to come out with a statement like that for the public.
A little bit of mixed messaging from them, just because Jeremy said obviously it's encouraging, and then Stephon saying it wasn't encouraging for us. We knew that because we've been talking to him for a little while. Two things that really weren't addressed in the statement: when is he going to come back and how he's doing? But besides that, he does allude to him returning to the bench. In what capacity? We don't know any specifics to it, but he does say, "I'm looking forward to a return to the bench."
He does say that, and I hope, this is, I think, what we said at the very early stages of this, is that you hope physically he recovers and he's back to being the same old Pop that everybody remembers, right? And there's no physical challenges that he has to still meet. So grateful that he's doing better. That's my understanding that he is. My understanding, though, to this point, and everything I've gotten is third hand, so take it with an eye on assault. But this is obviously a very challenging physical situation, and it would be a miracle if he came back this year at all.
I thought that when we kind of discussed the last statement that the Spurs released was like, I think it was understood by everybody in that article by Mike Finger as well, that he's not going to come back before the new year. And I think obviously that's pretty much cemented now. He's probably not going to come back until the new year happens. I would be surprised if he doesn't come back this year, though. When you hear a mild stroke, obviously we don't know all the specifics and what his health dictates, but seeing what Pop has gone through and seeing who Pop has shown us that he is for the last 30 some odd years, I would be surprised if he doesn't want to get back on the bench as soon as possible. And he does not actually attain that goal.
Well, that would shock me too, right? Knowing who he is and how much he loves basketball and how much he loves coaching this team and this organization that, quite frankly, he's built. So yes, all that would shock me too. Having said that, he's having to deal with stroke-related issues. And so the most important thing is to get back physically as strong as possible and at some point so that you can take on the challenges that demand what an NBA coach has to go through.
Yeah, and he's a 75-year-old man who's recovering from what they're calling a mild stroke. A stroke is a stroke, so
right.
It's still not good for a 75-year-old man to suffer that. However, I do take it as a semi-encouraging sign. One, that he's releasing the statement. Two, Pop is still using the same old Pop humor. And three, that he's very clearly still in communication with all of the players, all of the coaches, still has his finger
That is fact.
That still has his finger on the pulse of what's going on inside the organization, still going on with his team day to day. I would be surprised if, when all of this is over, that we hear that Coach Pop did not talk to Mitch Johnson every day, or at least every other day, because of how much he is coaching not only the players, but is coaching Mitch Johnson and is coaching all of the coaches on his staff. So I think that it is encouraging for me as someone who covers the Spurs, and I think it should be encouraging to Spurs fans that he is still in that constant communication with the players and the coaches.
Yes, I agree. That is a positive, and we're grateful that that's exactly what's going on. But to me, it's in this press release, I don't want to infer anything from what isn't there. And you already pointed out what isn't there, right? How's he doing physically, and when is he coming back? Neither one of those things was there, so I don't want to read the tea leaves too far ahead. We're just hoping that Pop gets better and is able to make that decision to come back or not to come back, and he's perfectly physically fine and able to make that decision according to his will.
Right, and I mean, without reading between the lines and just taking the words that we've heard and seen over the last 2 months at face value, he is going to come back. We don't know when he's going to come back, but he does allude to a return to the bench, and he has said in the past that this young team last year, the year before that, this year, has reinvigorated his will and want to coach. So like I said, I'd be surprised if he didn't return sooner rather than later. If he is out all year because his health does not allow him to come back, I think everyone would be okay with that because it's his health first.
100%.
But I would be surprised if he does not.
It should be the least, and I think it is, of Spurs fans' worries at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I guess I don't know. Sometimes the way the Spurs do their media and like display and divulge information bugs me, but I mean that's par for the course. We hadn't heard anything about Pop in what feels like forever, and it was right around Thanksgiving from what I remember. But we hadn't heard anything, and then out of nowhere, all right, here's a statement from Pop. We don't get any of that, how the sausage is made, or we don't get any of that constant information. And you've dealt with that for years.
Yes.
So.
I mean, I'm not going to tell them how to run their business. They're perfectly capable of figuring that stuff out on their own. But yes, at times the lack of transparency creates a spitballing situation where you're trying to figure things out, or you're having to get information second and third hand, and then at least formulate an opinion based on what you're hearing so that you don't accidentally take people into a narrative stream that doesn't necessarily exist.
Right. So, I mean, I think we can end the Pop part of this conversation saying we hope he gets better, hope he is back on the court sooner rather than later, and even if he doesn't come back to the court, as long as he lives a successful, happy, and healthy latter part of his life, I think it'll all be successful in that.
Amen.